Have you ever wondered why a narcissist can face your anger, enjoy your loud accusations, yet tremble when you choose silence? Because silence is not just the end of a conversation. It is an earthquake that shatters the entire script they've built. In that silence, their familiar buttons stop working, and the power they once boasted of suddenly crumbles. And in the very moment you go silent, their collapse begins. From confusion to anger to despair, and finally to the emptiness they cannot escape. Today, we will dive into the 7 stages of a narcissist collapse to show you a profound truth. Sometimes, the greatest power comes from absolute stillness. Stage 1. Confusion. When you choose silence, the first thing that happens in the narcissist's world is not an explosive rage, but a slow, creeping confusion, like the first crack in a wall of power. For them, silence is not just an absence of words, it is an invisible reminder that the intricate system they built, a system fueled by your reactions, can collapse the very moment you refuse to play along. Because a narcissist's power has never come from within, it exists only through reflection. One explanation from you, one tear, even a single glance can become fuel to sustain the illusion that they are still in control. Every reaction silently confirms, I am still within your reach. But when you fall silent, that illusion shatters. They press the same buttons, but there is no response. They try to ignite conflict, but no fire appears. Their old tactics fall into the void. And it's in that void that confusion seeps into their mind, like darkness flooding a room the moment the light goes out. This confusion is more than discomfort. It threatens the very core of the self they've worked so hard to construct. Jung once said, "What we deny controls us. What we accept transforms us." The narcissist denies their fragility, their fear of abandonment, their inner emptiness. But your silence forces them to confront those very denials. Without you reflecting them, they are left staring into their own void, the one they've spent a lifetime avoiding. They grow restless. They don't understand why their familiar formula no longer works. Instead of feeling in control, they begin to doubt their own ability to manipulate. Like a traveler lost in a maze, suddenly stripped of their map, they no longer know the way out. With no signals, no reactions, they fall into uncertainty. And for a mind obsessed with control, uncertainty is the ultimate nightmare. In that confusion, they will try everything to break your silence. A provocative message, a cryptic remark, an unexpected gesture. But it's all like a hand twisting a rusted lock. The door won't open. And with each failed attempt, disappointment eats away at the illusion of being invincible. It is in this very moment that your true strength emerges. Your silence not only confuses them, it shakes their deepest belief that they can always control others. You have withdrawn the oxygen that feeds their inflated ego, and from this confusion, the chain of collapse begins. Thus, confusion is not just the first step in losing control, it is a doorway that opens to the question they fear the most, the one they never dare to face. If no one reacts to me anymore, who am I really? 2. Stage 2. Anger. After the initial confusion, the narcissist quickly erupts into anger. As to them, your silence is not just an empty pause, it is a hidden declaration of war. It shatters the illusion that they still hold control, and in their eyes, control is existence itself. When that power is challenged, they feel as if their very being is under threat. In this stage, the polite and charming mask they once wore begins to crack. What emerges instead is aggression and hostility. They may mock, blame, fabricate stories, or even smear your reputation. They want to reopen old wounds because they believe your fear and anger will draw you back. Every word, every act is aimed at a single goal to make you react. If you speak up, if you cry, if you defend yourself, they will feel as though they've reclaimed the upper hand. But your silence now is like a solid stone wall. Every attack bounces back, leaving them more powerless. The louder they scream, the more obvious their fragility becomes. Like a cornered animal, their anger is not born of strength, but of fear. Fear of abandonment. Fear of being forgotten. Carl Jung once said, "What we deny will return to destroy us." A narcissist's rage is the surfacing of the shadow, the truth they desperately try to hide, their inner weakness. When you stay silent, that darkness rises to the surface, exposing the reality that their power was never absolute, only borrowed from the reactions of others. Worse still, anger pushes them to escalate. From sharp words, they may move to extreme actions, inventing stories, spreading rumors, painting you as the villain. They try to control the narrative, even when they can no longer control you. This is often the point where many feel exhausted and tempted to defend themselves. But remember, it is silence, not argument, that unsettles them most deeply. A narcissist's rage is not power. It is the sign of powerlessness. For someone truly strong has no need to scream or attack to prove themselves. Only those losing their grip resort to anger as a mask for fear. And when you remain calm and steady, their anger ceases to be a weapon. It becomes living proof of one truth. You have touched their deepest fear, the fear of losing control, the fear of losing the ability to manipulate others. 3. Stage 3: Desperation. When anger fails to work, the narcissist falls into another dramatic state: desperation. This is when you will witness them change faces at lightning speed. The person who just shouted and attacked you mercilessly suddenly transforms into someone fragile, wounded and pleading. They may send long emotional messages, call incessantly, or find ways to approach you. They may cry, promise to change, swear that only you understand them, that no one else could ever take your place. Here, you no longer see just a manipulator, but a skilled actor performing a flawless role. Yet, behind the performance, the truth remains the same. They are not desperate because they lost you. They are desperate because they lost their source of power. Your presence was the mirror reflecting the grand self they wanted to believe in. When that mirror vanishes, they are forced to face the inner darkness they fear the most. This stage is where many people stumble. Compassion and empathy are strong ties, and the narcissist knows this well. They stage remorse, but the remorse comes too quickly. The apologies sound rehearsed. The promises of change repeat like an old script. If real change were possible, it would have happened long ago, when they still had the chance to cherish you. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." But for the narcissist, pain does not lead to awakening. It is only a survival reflex. They suffer not because they've lost love, but because they've lost control. They cry not out of longing for you, but out of terror at the emptiness when there's no one left to manipulate. And this is the moment you must remain most resolute. For once you open the door again, the narcissist will step back in, not to heal, but to rewrite the play with an even more sophisticated script. They will perform again, but this time sharper, more dangerous, because now they know exactly where your weak points lie. Their desperation, viewed from the outside, may stir pity in you, but with clear eyes you will see it for what it is. Not love, but empty fear disguised as emotion. By staying silent, you not only prevent their return, you force them to confront the darkness within themselves, and that is the one thing they fear most. 4. Stage 4. Collapse. When every tactic has failed, from confusion and anger to desperation, the narcissist falls into their darkest stage, collapse. This is not just a failure to control you, it is an identity crisis, where the entire false system they spent so long constructing begins to crack. To outsiders, they once appeared invincible, charming, confident, magnetic, as if the whole world revolved around them. But your silence has stripped away the stage, the spotlight, and the audience. Now, they are like an actor left alone on an empty stage, no one to watch, no one to mirror them. And in that silence, the mask falls. Other times can manifest in two ways. Sometimes it happens quietly, like a house rotting from within, crumbling brick by brick without anyone noticing. Other times it explodes like a violent storm. They may become unstable, extreme, even destructive, lashing out at others to cover their own helplessness. Whether silent or loud, the essence is the same. They cannot bear the truth that their power only ever existed with someone else's cooperation. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." For the narcissists, this darkness is the emptiness within, the void they've spent their life running from. But your silence forces them to face it. No more laughter, no more tears, no more reactions to cling to. They are left only with themselves, fragile, exposed, and deeply afraid. Even more frightening for them is the realization that their so-called invincibility was always an illusion. They may scramble to find new supply to patch the void, but deep down, the crack has already formed. They know that with you, the game has ended forever. And that knowledge plants a loss no new supply can ever truly erase. But remember, their collapse is not their story. It is your victory. Your calmness and consistency prove one undeniable truth. You are no longer a puppet in their script. You have reclaimed authorship of your own life. In this moment, you recognize something profound. The narcissist's collapse is nothing less than your rebirth. You do not need to argue, prove, or scream. Silence has done it all. And as you stand firm, watching their mask slip away, you grasp a powerful lesson. All false power crumbles the moment no one sustains it, and true freedom begins the moment you withdraw your energy. 5. Stage 5. The final resistance. Image protection. At the edge of collapse, the narcissist does not easily accept silent defeat. Their final instinct rises. Protect the image. If they can no longer control you directly, they will try to control how others see you and how others see them. For the narcissist, image is not just a facade. It is the foundation of their entire identity. In the eyes of the world, they must remain admired, pitied, or at the very least victorious. Your silence has shaken their stage of power, so now they build a new one. The audience of friends, family, colleagues, or anyone willing to listen. They may start with whispers, twisted stories, or half-truths. In these scripts, they often cast themselves as the victim and you as the cruel one. They plant seeds of doubt in others while fishing for sympathy, as though gasping for oxygen in their final moments. But you must remember, this is not truth. It is merely the last struggle of a dying ego. The more they cling to image, the more they reveal that the truth inside is rotten. For if they were truly strong and authentic, they would not need lies or manipulation of public opinion to hide their fear. Carl Jung once said, "Persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself and others think one is." At this stage, the narcissist clings to their persona like a drowning person clutches driftwood. Yet the problem is clear. Without you as the mirror, The largest shield they ever had is gone. No performance can hide the truth within. What's important for you to understand is this. You don't need to chase after rumors. You don't need to defend yourself. Silence and time will do their work. The discerning will eventually see what is real, and the gullible will simply become temporary audience members in the narcissist's next play. And here lies your true power. You don't need to protect an image because you have chosen to live authentically. While they scramble to defend appearances, they only expose their false nature more clearly. 6. Stage 6. Emptiness and replacement. When every attempt has failed, confusion, anger, desperation, image protection, the narcissist falls into the inner void they dread most. But instead of bravely facing that emptiness, they default to their oldest escape, finding new supply. In reality, this process is almost scripted. They refresh their social media presence, post upbeat statuses, show off small achievements, while dropping hints to friends that they've escaped a toxic relationship, conveniently painting themselves as the survivor. Once the stage is set, they begin scanning for targets, mutual friends, co-workers, hobby groups, or more directly, dating apps. The type they seek is predictable, someone freshly heartbroken, someone empathetic, someone far from home with few connections, or a soul prone to self-doubt. Once identified, they approach with precision, liking stories, commenting at the right time, sending memes or songs that just happen to fit. They engineer repeated encounters, creating the illusion of fate. When they've gained attention, they begin the reading phase, asking questions, probing for vulnerabilities, mirroring tastes and mannerisms to create an uncanny sense of similarity. Then comes acceleration, love bombing with constant messages, thoughtful small gifts, promises of shared futures, trips together, a cozy home, even joint projects. Within weeks, they push for labels, entangle daily routines, leave belongings behind, and suggest small financial commitments. Finally, they reveal their conquest publicly. A hand and a photo, 2 coffee cups, a coincidental trip. It's part victory lap, part provocation. But beneath the glitter, the truth is unchanged. They are not seeking love, only a new mirror to reflect their empty self. And no matter how many replacements they find, one fact remains. Once you have withdrawn your energy and stood firm, their power over you is gone forever. 7. Stage 7. Silence, the ultimate victory. After all the cycles, confusion, anger, despair, collapse, the final resistance, and the search for new supply, the narcissist is eventually forced to accept one truth. Your silence is the end of their power over you. What makes silence the ultimate victory is not what you do, but what you don't do. You don't argue to prove you're right. You don't shed tears hoping for comfort. You no longer give them the privilege of reading your emotions, pressing your buttons, or deciding your mood. And in that refusal to participate, you reclaim full control of your own life. Narcissists exist through reaction. They are like actors who only live when an audience is present. Every explanation, every outburst, every tear you give is the applause that keeps their play alive. But when you choose silence, the lights go out, the audience leaves, and they are left with one naked truth. They are nothing without someone to reflect them. Everything that dynamic on its own. Silence is also the harshest mirror. It doesn't embellish, it doesn't react, it doesn't lie. It simply reveals to the narcissist the truth. Their power only ever lived in imagination, and that illusion survived only because you cooperated. When you turn away, they are forced to look into the void within, a place filled with nothing but fragility, fear, and emptiness. Carl Jung once said, "Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries." For you, silence is a step toward wholeness, because in silence, you are no longer pulled into their chaos. You begin to hear your own inner voice again. You begin to heal old wounds. You rediscover the peace you had long lost. You understand you don't need an apology. You don't need recognition. You don't need a perfect closure. The peace within you is the only answer you'll ever need. For the narcissist, silence is the final sentence, not one you declare, but one they must face when no one is left to manipulate. They may seek new supply, rebuild their image, or keep replaying their old games with new audiences. But deep down, they know that with you, the game is over. And that memory, that you escaped their control, becomes a fracture in their inflated ego that can never truly heal. The most beautiful truth is this: silence doesn't just dismantle their power, it resurrects your own. It is a quiet yet thunderous declaration. I am no longer a puppet in your play. I choose peace over chaos. I choose freedom over captivity. I choose myself. This victory is not loud, not dramatic, not fought with swords. It arises from stillness, yet it shakes entire false worlds. Because while the narcissist struggles to maintain their illusion, you have walked away, leaving behind the stage curtains into a new life, where no one controls you but yourself. Imagine this. One day, you look back and realize the greatest victory never came from defeating another, but from refusing to play their game at all. That is the essence of silence. A soft power that cannot be broken, a quiet flame that burns down illusions. And once you grasp this, you see silence is not only a weapon against the narcissist, it is the key that unlocks your true freedom. After passing through all 7 stages, confusion, anger, despair, collapse, the final resistance, replacement, and finally the moment you recognize the supreme power of silence, a clear picture emerges. The narcissist was never as strong as they appeared. Their power was never inside them. It only existed in your reactions. The moment you withdraw your energy, the moment you refuse to play their game, their false world begins to crumble piece by piece. It may hurt to watch them quickly find replacements or polish their image before the public, but remember, all of it is only a symptom of fear and emptiness, because they know, once you hold your silence, you have escaped their control forever. They may repeat the same script with others, but the fracture in their ego has already formed, and no mask can cover that truth.